Okay, guys. Welcome back to my channel. I know it's been a couple weeks, but I wasn't able to record because my dog ended up eating my memory card for one of my other cameras. And so the camera that I usually record with has not had a memory card for me to record with. Anyways, I am back this week, and today I'm going to be talking about the reason as to why I didn't start off as an inpatient new graduate nurse and why I decided to go outpatient. And it's going to be truthful. I'm just going to tell you exactly why I decided to do outpatient or hospice nursing, and it wasn't my first choice. And so if you guys would like to know why I decided to go this route, stay tuned. Okay, guys, welcome back. Sorry if you hear like my dogs fighting in the background, but I just wanted to, I've been having a hard time in the last couple of weeks trying to figure out on what I want to do in nursing and for basically the rest of my life. Having to choose a career is a very, very big thing, because in the end, all you want to be is happy, and you don't want to work a job where you're just like, oh, I have to go to work tomorrow, I have to do all this, I have to do all that. And that is like what I'm internally struggling with, because I keep getting emails from my school sending me out, these new positions and these new grad positions that are inpatient in the hospital. And in the back of my mind, I'm like, should I apply? What should I do? Should I do inpatient? Should I still try to apply to inpatient hospitals as a new grad? Or should I just continue to work with where I'm at right now and continue to grow with that? Because I'm not gonna lie, I'm someone who's like worked a lot of different jobs, and I've learned a lot of different work environments and realizing what kind of job will work for me and what I enjoy doing. So the very first reason, and honest and truthful, the reason why I ended up starting off in outpatient or hospice nursing was because that was the first job that I got. I did apply to a lot of inpatient new graduate programs, but you have to understand that new graduate programs the positions aren't open every single day. They only open 2 times a year. So the spots in these programs are very limited, and they're very competitive. And so sometimes it's hard to even get an interview. It's even hard to get a position at a job where you want to work at. And what I mean that where I want to work at is depending on the type of hospital. There's a lot of opening positions. There's even places that would do sign-on bonuses, $10,000 sign-on contracts for new grads to work in the ICUs. But these are very small hospitals and the resources are limited, and so you also have to think of the work environment that you're in, the type of support that you have. Is this place just gonna train me for 10 days and then make me be on my own? And that's the kind of type of things you want to look for, because when you actually work or actually get into a new grad program, they actually have you take classes throughout the entire year. You have a preceptor, like they actually have created a program that has worked for previous nurses that will help prepare you to be a good nurse, and without the risk of feeling like you have the support of the hospital and your preceptors and all this stuff. But then there's other hospitals that will hire new grads, but they don't specifically have a new grad program, but they'll just like train you, and then you're on your own for like 3 months or something. So that was a difficulty that I've had, was trying to find a hospital that I would like to work at, and not getting interviews for that, if that makes sense. And I've applied to multiple new grad programs around my area, and I haven't been able to get a new graduate or an interview. And so I started looking into other positions on Indeed, and I was just applying, like literally applying to any position. And it didn't even say, it would say 1 year preferred, but it wasn't required. What was required was a BSN and, ACLS, BLS, and those things were like the main basic stuff that I would apply for on Indeed. And so I was applying, and then I was like literally the next day I was getting emails back on Indeed saying, they want to interview me, and these were positions for home health. These were positions for hospice. Later on, I got a call to interview for an outpatient surgical center. And so the response that I was getting from these outpatient positions was a lot more frequent than applying to a new grad program and waiting. And so it was faster for me to get a job as an outpatient. And that is basically one of the main reasons why I decided to start my position in outpatient. If you're someone who has no rush or who's not waiting to find that perfect job or perfect, trying to find that hospital you want to work at, honestly, you're better at just getting the position and a new graduate, or getting a job inpatient into wherever job you can find, because it's very hard and very competitive to get a job somewhere if you don't currently work there as like a CNA. The other thing was that the reason why I wanted to go out into outpatient or hospice is because of the flexibility. This was a job that I've never had before. And what I mean by that is I've worked inpatient before. I've worked in the hospital as a CNA. I've worked in, skilled nursing facilities doing my clinical sites there, doing my clinical rotations in the hospitals. And so I know what it's like working a 12-hour shift as inpatient, working inpatient. And I said, okay, well, hospice here, I get to work from home. I log in my hours, log out my hours, log in my mileage, and I make my own schedule. I do have to be flexible because sometimes they'll call me and be like, hey, we need to go see a patient at this area. The only con is like constantly driving, and some days I drive so much that I'm drained by the end of the day, but that's not every single day, if that makes sense. I have days where I'll go see 2-3 patients and then I'm done, and I don't have to see an admission that day. And honestly, I would work that day for maybe 4 hours, but I still get paid those 8 hours, because that's just how some companies work or how they pay. There's other companies that would pay you for each visit, if that makes sense. So I already had that experience of working inpatient, but not as a nurse. But I have had the experience of that physical draining, mental draining, and just sleeping in all day. And I wanted to see what it was like to be able to work from home, create my own hours, drive and see my patients, and doing long-term care versus acute care. And so the longer I know my patients, the more I know about them, the more it's easier for me to notice different changes in certain things and versus what's something that's been long term. Sorry, Chance wanted to make an appearance. No, Big Brother's just, hey, no chewing. Okay, before I was rudely interrupted by my children, I wanted to see what it was like working from home. And it has been so much more different than working in the hospital. Because let me be honest. Every time I go in the hospital and I'm trying to talk to my nurses, most of the time they're like everywhere. I'd ask them questions about the patients. Sometimes they don't even know, the answers to my questions on the patients. They're so busy that you can't provide the care that the patient needs. If you would like to do outpatient versus inpatient, outpatient is going to be more long-term care for patients versus inpatient it's going to be acute care. It's just going to be, you might see that patient for 1 day, discharge them. You might see that patient for 3 days, discharge them. You might be seeing the same patient that comes in all the time every other couple months. But outpatient is different, because if you're interested in actually providing care to a patient long term, following their care, seeing how they're doing, creating relationships with families, doing outpatient is something that you might be more interested in. The third thing is I've been having an internal struggle. Chance, no. Oh my god, this is how it is, like being home with my dogs, because they can't. Okay. So this is how it is to be at home with my children, but I'd rather be constantly bothered by my dog than working in the hospital and being bothered by my patient who's constantly trying to get out of bed, if you know what I mean. So last thing is I've been having this internal struggle of whether or not I want to apply for an inpatient position, work in a hospital, because I still want to be able to experience the role as a nurse in an acute setting, because I always saw myself working in an acute setting and, you know, saving lives, doing compressions, and learning a lot about diseases. Because an outpatient in my position, I don't learn a lot about acute diseases. I learn a lot about chronic diseases that have affected these patients over a very long time, and they're going to be dying from it. That is the difference in the internal struggle, because it's like, well, I still want to learn how to do IVs. I still want to be able to hang, medications and seeing acute stuff that I won't see. So that is the only thing. But it's like, at the same time, do I want to do that? Do I want to lose that kind of freedom I have while working at home, having these like 1 hour lunches versus having no lunch to 10-minute lunches, breaks, and barely eating, barely going to the bathroom, or still be able to work from home, be able to come home early, chart, and work out, and have time to eat and take care of my dogs, or drop off food for my fiance for work, while he's at work. And it's just, if you're someone who also has kids or is thinking of being tired of outpatient of being tired of inpatient, and you want to do outpatient and have time for your kids, this is a position that you would consider as well. And so that's it. Like, I'm randomly applying to new grad programs to see if I'll even get an interview, but it's not something that I'm like freaking out and stressing about, because as a new graduate, the thing that I was more worried about is making sure that I find a job that I like and I'm getting paid, because I have stuff I need to pay for, right? And sometimes you won't be able to find a job as a new grad. I've seen people not finding jobs as a new graduate and inpatient for at least a year, and that's difficult. And so sometimes don't stress out about like finding that, or trying to work at one specific place, or trying to find a position at one job. And if you don't get that position as a new graduate, that's okay. There's a lot of different opportunities in nursing and as a nurse that are open right now, even to new grads. You have home health, you have hospice, you have surgical centers, you have outpatient centers that you can apply to and get a position at. And even though it might not be your top choice or something that you never saw yourself doing, you still have a job. And you may never know that you may never know if you'll like it or not. And I never thought that I would like doing what I'm doing, because there's days where I'm just like, oh wow, like today is a great day. And then there's other days where I'm like, oh my God, today sucks. And I feel like that's how it is with every single job. But I've had a job before where I dreaded going into work, and I hated going into work, and it was just something I didn't want to do. But now, or like there's days where I'd be like, I want to call off work and I don't want to go to work tomorrow. But what I'm doing right now, I've never had that point where I'm like, oh, I don't want to work tomorrow. Right now I'm in a position where it's like, oh, I can work tomorrow. It's not that difficult. I mean, it might be difficult, but physically draining, it's not that difficult for me. But anyways, I hope you guys have liked this little life update, and just me being truthful on how it's been post nursing school and as a new graduate, like looking for a job. And January, I'm 9 months post graduating nursing school, and got my first job as an RN in June. Also, if you're in nursing school, don't stress out. There's going to be jobs for you, available for you, no matter what. Even though it may not be your choice, there's still going to be something out there for you to do. So don't stress out. Take it day by day, and you guys got this. I know a lot of people have been DMing me. If you guys have any questions about anything, about West Coast University, because that's the school I went to, then I have a lot of people DMing me about that. You guys can DM me on my Instagram at crazy__. And if you guys like this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe so you guys don't miss any of my videos. Thank you guys.